it. Man, it took way longer to break down The Acolyte than I anticipated. Also, I have a personal thing tonight, and I didn't want to be tired for it. And then also I have to leave at a certain time. So that's why I dropped the Acolyte breakdown. I had this breakdown so close together. I apologize about that. Also, I was up later last night than I should have been because I had to watch I just couldn't resist watching my House of the Dragon screener for Sunday. So I should have waited. I should have waited to watch that until like tomorrow or something, but I really wanted to see it, and that messed up my evening last night. All right, The Bear starts tonight, and I'm really shocked, by the way, that they didn't have any reviews drop for The Bear from any outlet. I'm like, what's wrong with this season, man? So we'll see. I thought that the episode for House of the Dragon on Sunday was very good, but something's got to happen on that show, man. Like they still don't have like a really big moment, and we're gonna be at episode 3 already. But so it's not the episode I think that show or its fans are looking for, but it's gonna be entertaining for those of you who are fans. For those of you who are along for the ride. Okay, so I want to thank the people who gifted some memberships before we started. Lisa, I see you there. Also, Sam Yeager, thank you so much, Dancing Dog 60. And hey, Vikrant, and I want to just tell you, it is so helpful to this channel, particularly, like when, interest in Hollywood is down a little bit. I just can't thank you enough for your generosity. It really, and I want you to know that it really makes a difference. And it allows me to keep continuing to do this at the level that I do. Because as you can see, it is a tremendous amount of work. Some other videos that are put up on YouTube I'm not sure if, how they do the editing. Sometimes, I think it's edited live together. Mine just, for some reason, it just takes a really long time. But I really care about the craftsmanship that I put into my videos. And so, I'm really working hard. I'm going to get up like really early tomorrow for the boys. I've already filmed my breakdown. The problem with the Acolyte, thank you, Wandering Seth, is that I'm not getting, they're not giving any of the episodes to press anymore. But with the boys and House of the Dragon, I have lead up time so that I can hit the ground running. But it's really hard with these other shows once we get past the episodes that we get in advance. It's rough, man. It's brutal. But it was really nice to see everybody's reaction. Oh, and the Acolyte breakdown's doing well, so that makes me happy. Okay, keeping an eye on my analytics over here. Thanks, Art Lover. Thank you, MM92. What else? What else did I want to say? Just to give you an update on some things before we get into the stories. One thing is that the review embargo lifts tomorrow, I think like in the morning for A Quiet Place, but I'm missing the screening tonight because I have that personal event. So I'm personal commitment. So I will see A Quiet Place right away, first showing tomorrow, and then I'll review it in the evening. If you can tear yourself away from the presidential debate, which is going to be like just a train wreck, my Quiet Place review will go up tomorrow in the early evening. Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much. And then also the BTT Inside Access, for those of you who are members at that level. I'll put a poll up actually after this stream, but it'll either be Sunday morning, the last day, June 30th, or it'll be Sunday afternoon, after Movie Math goes up and before House of the Dragon airs. So I'll ask you guys what on Sunday you prefer for our little meet and greet, online. Okay. All right. Hey, George Alexander. Welcome back. All right. And then Leanne says, please don't cover Harry Potter. Well, I'm trying to cover it in a balanced way. Alex, I don't know if I got to thank you. That's very generous of you. Thank you so much. I think that I will definitely make sure that that's part of the conversation, but I'm not going to just totally stop covering the show. I'll cover if things don't go well. I'll tell you right now, the fact that HBO didn't report episode 2 numbers for House of the Dragon means they're pretty bad. I was going to mention that on my breakdown on Sunday, but I'll just point it out right here. if the numbers had gone up, they would have certainly reported that and been like, look, it was just a flub because we dropped it on Father's Day. Instead, they're like, what do you mean ratings? How would we calculate that? And you're like, suspicious. All right. Okay. Story number 1. Doop, 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 doop. All right. Oh, that's from Sound of Music. All right. So anyway, story number 1. Boop. Oh, yeah, by the way, also side note, looks like Yahtzee's not going to go on strike. Woohoo! It would have ruined the business for 5 or 6 years, so I'm very happy. That's the, I'm glad that the behind the scenes talent got the deal that they wanted. All right, so things are returning to normal because it looks like at Comic-Con, Marvel's coming back. Woohoo! There was no Comic-Con beforehand. As you know, Comic-Con's still kind of in danger of going out of business, and Hall H is largely keeping them in business. And so Marvel will return this year. Last year they could not because, as you might recall, the actors' strike broke out right before Comic-Con. And so no actors could go and do any presenting. They couldn't appear. And so everybody really quickly, domino effect, bowed out of Comic-Con. Did they have Comic-Con last year? I don't think they even did, right? Because there was nobody there. Thanks, I know. That was very sweet of you. I haven't heard anything about Doom being in Fantastic Four. And even if I had, I wouldn't tell you because I don't want to ruin the movie. Well, you guys are getting ahead of me. Let's stay on track. Okay. So, no Marvel at Hall H last year. But this year, they're coming. It's going to be a big year for Marvel news and Disney news in general because not only is there Comic-Con, but of course D23. Wait till you see the boys tomorrow. D23 Expo is also in August. So Kevin Feige, he's done back-to-back presentations before, and he's going to do it again. So this is a very, very big opportunity for them. It's very important. And not only do they have a lot of projects to promote, but Comic-Con weekend is the weekend that Deadpool and Wolverine hits theaters. That's nuts to me. And guess what? It's not only Comic-Con and Deadpool and Wolverine opening, but it's the Summer Olympics. I think that you can't move the Olympics, I guess. I would have considered moving the Olympics because they have the Olympics opening ceremony on Friday, July 26th. And that's the same day that Deadpool and Wolverine hits theaters, and there'll be a lot of Comic-Con panels. So you're like, what? I mean, it's weird. It's really weird. Usually I would watch the opening ceremony for any Olympics, but I don't think I'm going to have time to watch these. And by the time I possibly could, it'll be too late because I'll be covering Comic-Con all weekend and doing Deadpool and Wolverine spoiler videos. So it's just crazy. I want to move the Olympics. I know it seems insane, but I'd be like, dude. I mean, I don't know who's gonna get hurt because I think a lot of normies, non-franchise movie people are gonna just pay attention to the Olympics. Well, that hurt Deadpool and Wolverine overseas. You might recall that in previous years, the last Jurassic movie, I think it was Jurassic Fallen Kingdom, came out ridiculously early overseas because it was trying to avoid the Olympics. So I'm not, we'll see. That's right, Cat Check. People love the Olympics. They love them, and it's going to be juicy this year because they said that Russia couldn't participate, and Russia is doing all these smear campaigns with fake CIA videos saying that the French Olympics aren't safe. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts. So, I think France is going to probably put on a pretty good show for the opening ceremony. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure some of you can balance out your weekend, but I will not be able to. No Olympics for me. All right, so it's fine. I'm happy. I love what I do. All right, so one of the things that was talked about today, not only was Kevin Feige talking about the fact that he was going to go to Comic-Con, but he also said, he gave a little bit of information about the Fantastic Four. And he basically confirmed everything we've been discussing, right? It's a period piece. It's like basically the 1960s. He didn't outrightly say it, but, he made it pretty clear that it's probably going to be, it's multiverse. It's a different universe, which is why Galactus can go nom, 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 and it doesn't kill the MCU. But also one thing that he said that I thought was very interesting was that Kevin Feige said the Monday after Comic-Con, they're going to start filming. And I was like, that means Fantastic Forecast at Comic-Con for sure, because that's a great little thing to say on stage. Here's your Fantastic Forecast, and we're putting them on a plane to London to start filming. I mean, that's a really nice headline. And also, they'll be too busy to be at D23. So you can guarantee that Fantastic Four will be a large part, if not most, of that presentation. Maybe they'll show them in costumes, the first official look or something like that. So far, they've only been doing these Phil Noto drawings. He has a very stylized look. But they're, at the very least, all four of them will be on stage for the first time ever, and we'll have lots of nice little pictures. And Mahershala Ali, if he's there, he'll be like, first time? Poor Mahershala Ali. I think that, of course, is a big question as to whether or not they're going to, finally move that film forward. Although they've potentially moved it forward before. I don't even know if Mahershala Ali would want to show up at this point because, I think that, maybe he'll go over to the Universal presentation for Jurassic World, where, whatever they're calling it, where Scarlett Johansson's saying, I've always wanted to be with the dinosaurs. And you're like, really? You've never talked about it before. She's like, I didn't want to jinx it. All right, so Fantastic Four will obviously be a big part of that presentation. I think obviously Captain America Brave New World will also be a big deal. And then they'll probably show something from Thunderbolts. Some things get dropped to the general public. Some things are Hall H only. So we'll see. But they've been showing a lot of Captain America reels and stuff like that at CinemaCon and stuff like that. So they have stuff to show. So then when it comes to movies, will they talk about Blade? And then also, will we get anything about Avengers 5? A new title. Benedict Cumberbatch is already going around telling everybody he's going to be in it. So maybe we'll get a lineup, for some of the main characters. And maybe they'll tell us they're going right into Secret Wars, which would be really nice to hear. I'll do a breakdown of the whole schedule. It's supposed to come out like right after the 4th of July, basically. So I will do a breakdown and talk about that. As for TV, I think you can guarantee that you're going to probably get Agatha and Daredevil. And again, this stuff will be spread out between Comic-Con and D23. But Agatha and Daredevil, they're ready to present for sure. They've already been presenting at other events, so that'll definitely happen. Nintendo says, I always thought that Galactus would be the final boss for Fantastic Four. Other than Doom, who else do you think is worthy of a spot? Well, remember, the rumor is that since it's in a different universe, they're going to have, and it's going to take place, it's going to cover like a whole lot of time for the Fantastic Four. It's not going to be like one story. It's going to be like their life story as a team. So at the beginning, you're going to have like a whole bunch of Fantastic Four villains, and then they're going to like fight Galactus and then say, peace out, and head over to the MCU 616 or whatever they're calling the main timeline. So that's kind of like basic, it's going to be very Incredibles-y. The Incredibles were modeled after the Fantastic Four, as were many of their villains. So that'll be interesting. The Incredibles obviously set an incredibly high bar. All right, so Agatha and Daredevil, they have some animation. They have What If. They also have, season 3. They also have the upcoming Spider-Man animated show that they're saying is supposed to be coming very soon. And then, of course, what about Ironheart, which is, in the can, ready to go. And then Wonder Man should also be close to being done, So you would think that they would, maybe want to show that a little bit. Will Kevin Feige dare to announce any new projects? I don't think he needs to. I think, I think what he should really focus on is clarification. And I think reassuring the fans that he's got this, that they're back on track. And hopefully that'll be the theme of the weekend with Deadpool and Wolverine. You'll know what the Rotten Tomatoes score is before the panel. And we'll see what the reviews are like for that movie. So, and it'll be really interesting to see, how it comes across. Now, of course, what some of you have been mentioning is what's going to happen with DC. DC, of course, is the other big panel always. And James Gunn has said he's not going because Jennifer says, do you think Victoria Pendretti should join Marvel? I don't know. I think it's a little late, for Victoria Pendretti. I think she's lost her momentum. But, never say never. I do like her work. But that's right, Poke. James Gunn said he's not going. Now, James Gunn says a lot of stuff and then does something else. So, I honestly wish that he wouldn't say it in the first place, that it didn't look like he was backtracking. I honestly, when someone says, hey, James Gunn, are you going to Comic-Con? He should say, I don't know. Right? He's like, we'll see. He is filming, but I agree with Cosmics. Where the heck is Peter Safran? Is he not the other half of this team? Somebody can present. We don't really have ever talked to Peter Safran. You know, like, what's the guy even sound like? You know, he certainly has said some stuff about the Batgirl movie. He's the one who said it was unreleasable. That's right, PSAFs, Dan O'Leary. Where's PSAFs? I like that. Let's get PSAFs out here and have him do the presentation. I mean, James Gunn, I think it would actually benefit them not to have James Gunn do it, because I think it's quickly turning into the Gunverse, and I think that, you know, even Kevin Feige, I can't totally tell you what his voice sounds like, even though, of course, he's done so much presenting. I think it needs to seem more like a group effort coming out of DC, so I think it would be nice if Safran did the presentation. And I think they desperately need to do the presentation. So it would be nuts if DC was not there. I think, you know, how is James Gunn? You know, I gotta tell you, a lot of movies have been filming during Comic-Con, and the talent associated takes a break and pops over and presents. Because, you know, Comic-Con is very easy to get to. You can come in for just the day. The studio will pay the money to fly you in and out on private jet. And I would think that, considering how much they've filmed at this point, James Gunn would want to present for Superman. He'd want to present something. You know, I don't think he needs to necessarily lead the panel, but I think, you know, he would want to have Superman have a presence there. It certainly should have a presence on the floor. I mean, it's the big movie. And that's right, Jay Kelly, Peacemaker. Well, also, I would imagine, would present. Supergirl. You know, there's a lot of stuff coming up. Maybe they'll tell us what's going on with Batman. Well, we'd like to know both Batmen. You know, like they said, Andy Muschietti's not leaving. So you're like, okay. And then they said Matt Reeves is working on the script for the next one. And you're like, okay. But again, I think both companies, you know, clarification. What are we doing here? I think that's right, Mika. They got Lanterns to talk about, Penguin on Max. DC has a lot to spotlight. And so I think that I can't imagine a Comic-Con where they don't have a panel, particularly because they don't have a D23 Expo coming up. And they stopped doing their DC little digital convention because, you know, it just, you know, nobody, you know, if it's not the pandemic, why don't you have a real life convention? It looks ridiculous. Oh yeah, Fandom. It looks ridiculous next to D23 having an actual convention, but, you know, Warner Brothers just doesn't have the money or the bandwidth to get that operation going. But, you know, Disney, of course, is already in the experience business, so it was a little easier for them, and they, of course, are right near a convention hall. Although, D23 this year is going to be nuts. D23, they're like renting out a whole football stadium or something, or a concert hall. It's going to be insane. I'm like, can you even fill that hall for announcements? And they're like, we think we can. And you're like, what's it going to be like in there? How are you going to combat leaks in a space that big? I mean, it's going to be nuts. I'm very interested to see what the presentation looks like for D23. It's going to be. I think you'll never have seen anything like it. I don't think I've ever seen a space that big for these kinds of presentations. I mean, it'll be hard to even see the stage if you're towards the back, but at least, you know, you'll be able to say that you were there. Lucas, I'll cover Creature Commandos when it comes out. You know, it's hard. You know, it's been hard this month with 3 shows. I would have liked to have covered the Batman trailer that came out today from Prime Video, but I just was racing to do Acolyte. Although I will review that show. I did not like the trailer. I said it was too much like X-Men. I mean, I said it was too much like Batman the Animated Series, and someone was like, well, why wasn't it a problem when X-Men 97 was like the animated series? And I'm like, but that was actually a continuation of that show, whereas this Batman show is considerably different. And so I think it should look different. I think it's, you know, if it's going to be something different, I think it should be something different. I think, you know, and I think if people really love Batman the Animated Series, they want that to come back as it was and continue with those characters. And like, although I will say that Hamish Linklater sounds so much like Kevin Conroy, it's a little bit shocking. All right, does anybody have any questions? It's so nice to see so many people joined into the stream, by the way, even if you aren't a member. Although, look, DeMarcus just got gifted a membership, so he's in the chat. Even if you aren't a member, I really appreciate you tuning in. You can, of course, leave a comment down below. And we just did a subscriber stream last week. We will do a subscriber stream, at least once a month. So, I got you. All right, so any questions or comments about this, and then we'll go on to the next story. Ben, I'm glad you're enjoying the lineup today. Max, is it too early for a Supergirl first look? Well, I don't know, because she's going to be in the Superman legacy. I mean, whatever, they're just calling it Superman. But she's going to be in the Superman movie next year, so you'd think they'd want to save that for that movie as a big reveal. But yet I think the suit at Comic-Con would get a lot of conversation, and it is going to be its own film. Steven says, Incredibles 2 made $1.2 billion. If Fantastic Four doesn't come close to $1 billion, will that be seen as bad? Way too early, Steven. I got to get a look at this thing. I think Fantastic Four is a harder sell. You know, I think Incredibles really had, you know, they had little kids. They had young kids. And I think that the action sequences were masterfully done. And let's see if Matt Shankman can direct action to that degree. It would be hard to match the action sequences and the inventive use of the powers that they have in The Incredibles. Hey, Luna. Thank you for gifting membership. That's very sweet of you. Hey, Polly. Let's see here. Jules says, where's my Scarlet Witch movie? You know, I don't even know if Elizabeth Olsen's interested anymore, considering some of the comments that she makes. Sophia says, do you think that the Sony Marvel projects will have a panel? Yeah, Sony should present. That's right, we're kind of due on some Spider-Man news. Although, because he's technically an MCU character, the Tom Holland version, I bet you that they would present during the MCU panel. That would be great, actually. Maybe they'll do that at D23, but it would be wonderful to understand what the next Spider-Man movie is going to be. Hey, Quasar, that's a great name. Danny says, do you think Disney will cancel some shows or movies? For sure, but I do not think they will ever tell you about it. I think they'll just fade away and they'll just not be mentioned. Adam Sphere says, whose lineup is stronger, DC or Marvel? I think it's hard to tell right now. I think Marvel's is a little stronger because I think DC hasn't really taken shape yet and we don't understand what James Gunn is building. Which is fine because he hasn't really had a chance to start. That's not anybody's fault. It's just they're in different places. But I think that, you know, both of them, I think we're not quite sure what we're looking at. Oh, Mark thinks, do you think Lady Gaga will have her first Comic-Con? Will Joker present? I don't even think Joaquin Phoenix wants to go to Comic-Con. Is that really like a Comic-Con type of movie? It's a big thing for DC, you know, and they would be due for another trailer. But I don't know if those actors need to be. I don't know. Leo says too early for Joker 2. Is it though? I mean, that comes out in October. So this is late July. I don't think it is necessarily. Leanne says, are the Fox FF in Deadpool? I think anything that came out during the Fox Marvel movies is fair game, but we don't want to have spoilers. Jennifer says, do you think that Millie Alcock can sell Supergirl to mainstream audiences? I'm not sure. I'd have to see how she looks in the suit. I think she's a little on the small side. But I don't know if that's going to matter, you know, physically. But I don't know if that's going to matter to anybody. I think the biggest hurdle for that movie would be the story because it's a very feminist story. And, you know, I don't know. You know, there's no strong male characters in it except for the villain, and he's just really a horrible guy. Yes, you would like our first look at Thunderbolts. I bet we get it. I think we'll probably get it. Liam says, do you think Marvel will give us a new release schedule since the last one we had is now way out? The graphics are always helpful. Again, wait till you see The Boys tomorrow. I don't know. I think they should maybe lay off that a little bit because it's getting them in trouble. Georgie Porgy says, what's the biggest announcement that Marvel can make at the presentation? I think it would be either Blade, as Haunted Autumn said, and or something about the new Spider-Man. I think those would just make everybody very excited. And as for DC, I would probably shore up what's going on with Batman, and then I would also maybe give a first look at Supergirl. Kevin says, off topic, but wasn't the CW Superman and Lois costume better? I think the general public might be a little Supermaned out, but it seems that some Superman fans just can't get enough of it. Okay, all right. GUI says, what about the Avengers? Well, I don't know if they need to announce the Avengers, but that would also be a big deal. But I don't know how, let's see. I think the announcement would largely be that they're just moving up Secret Wars, and that's already kind of suspected. All right, so let's go to the next story of the day, because I have to end around 5 o'clock-ish. All right. Boop. Ooh, Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Yes, as you can see, some of you are very upset with J.K. Rowling, and I think are unlikely to get over it, and that is a problem for this show. I gotta tell you, I think this show is just gonna be such a toxic soup of problems and commentary. I think from every direction possible. I think basically everyone's going to get upset with it on every possible side, from every perspective. So I'm nervous about this show. So let's see. I'm surprised that these two individuals right here, both holding Emmys, would want to join this. But I'm sure that they're getting paid a very nice amount of money. And it is a very nice thing to have on their resume, if it works out. All right, so HBO, first of all, one of the big announcements that came out yesterday was that instead of these shows being Max shows, as you can see there, it says a Max original, they're now going to be HBO shows. And so they're just going to air on the HBO, part of the Max app. So that's good. I think that HBO certainly has more prestige, but then these shows better be good because, how many hits can the HBO brand take? Now, this is a reboot where they're going to tell this original Harry Potter books one season for each year of school. And the idea is that they're going to be able to go into more detail because it's a series instead of a movie. And I've talked to some Harry Potter fans, and that does interest them. But I think for the general public, I think we would like new characters. I think it would be smarter to do new characters, a new class, and then Harry Potter and group can come and visit and talk at the class and stuff like that. That's what I would personally prefer. Some of you I was DMing with one of you, and you pointed out that, the Hogwarts Legacy game is very popular. It almost single-handedly saved Warner Brothers Gaming last year. And so, clearly people still like being in that world. And they're about to open their third Harry Potter world at Epic Universe. So the world is popular, but I think that revisiting and having yet another version of Harry Potter, I don't really know how that's going to go over. But I think the reason that they're not doing new characters is because it did not work out for Fantastic Beasts. And I would guess that scared them. They were like, let's just stick with what we know everybody loves. And you're like, but are you going to stick with it? I think there's been some questions about, the original cast. And of course, while the show has while the IP has broad appeal, it's really lacking in representation in many areas, diversity, gender, and, orientation. But yet, those groups are very big fans of the material. And so obviously and understandably, and I think rightfully so, they want to see themselves reflected in it. But then that's going to upset all the purists. So obviously, the way to go is a new class of students, and you can have that without having to get into the horrible conversations that we find ourselves in on these other shows. I just think that's just, it seems so obvious to me that they should do a new class of students that it just is very weird. All right, so the reason that we're talking about it today, is that they've hired some people to be the creatives behind the show, which means they're starting to move very quickly. So right now it's apparently going to come out in 2026. I guess because they have a lot of, visual effects and sets to build and stuff like that. Okay. All right. So, Mark Malloy, they got two people from Succession, and you don't think, show about kids at school would be the people from Succession. But I guess, they dealt with the relationship in the family. So I guess it kind of works a little bit for Harry Potter. So they got Mark Malloy to be the director, to direct multiple episodes of the show. He, of course, not only did Succession, but The Menu. That was his big first movie. He's also worked on Game of Thrones episodes and also The Last of Us. Then Francesca Gardner, she's also been a writer on Succession. But the other HBO shows she's worked on was Dark Materials, which makes me a little nervous. I'm like, nobody liked Dark Materials. Get away from this. But then also, I think some people like Dark Materials, but it wasn't a large group of people. I personally would be like, get away from this. Then also she worked a little bit on Killing Eve, and I'd be like, what season of Killing Eve? Because that show really went off the rails as well. But that's your creative team, okay? So they're going to be the ones behind this. I hope that I hope they can use their success to counteract J.K. Rowling, who has like a death grip on the IP, which, she created. She did create it, but then I guess she feels she also has the right to destroy it, which she seems hell-bent on. Not only with some of her, very insensitive comments, but also with making very poor decisions. Like, she was the one who was behind Fantastic Beasts, and she did a really bad job with those creative decisions. I think the lack of compassion is the issue, and that, she just won't, stop. It's like, just stop talking about it. Let's see here. All right, we'll do a poll. A lot of you want a poll. And then as you vote, you can ask me any questions about this. Will you watch HBO Harry Potter show? Yes. No, not interested. And then no, boycott J.K. Rowling. And then another one, I would if new characters. Okay. Anyone can vote in a poll, by the way. You don't have to be a member to vote in the poll. Let's see here. Let's see. I have some questions here. Doop, 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 doop. A lot of. You guys seem very divided in your opinion on J.K. Let's see here. Hulkling from Wiccan says, thank you for covering Harry Potter. Harry Potter belongs to the people, not the author. I think that obviously Warner Brothers is hoping that is the case. Neal says, I have trans friends and I just can't support J.K. Choices. Yeah, I do think that, I think that it's very difficult for those members of the LGBT community in particular, and I think the lack of compassion towards them is surprising. I think that J.K. could make the points that she's trying to make without being insensitive to that group. Steven says, behind the camera talent is one thing. Do you think because of J.K. they will have a harder time with on-camera talent? Oh, that's an interesting point. Will people not want to be cast in it? I think Harry Potter is a pretty big brand, so I think that most people would find a way around it and be like, well, I'm going to talk to J.K. and see if I can't reach out to her. Let's see here. Dallin says, the issue with Fantastic Beasts was that it was focused on an adult cast, but Harry Potter is at its best when it centers on kid protagonists. Well, yes, but that's why I'm like, get a new group of students. Let's see here. Quasar didn't get into Harry Potter. Well, maybe this is your chance. Warner Brothers is hoping that, they can get people to jump on who did not watch the original movies. They've built a lot of theme parks and stores, man. Nacho says, I bet they changed the ethnicity. Well, I think that they probably will change Hermione because there's always been a debate over what J.K. Rowling intended in the novels. And then they did change the character on the Broadway, and well, first the West End and then the Broadway play. Let me get the name of that actress. She was wonderful. I saw her. Let's see here. Noma Dumezweni was the first person, I think, to bring that character to life. Yes, she was a delight. I saw her in person, and I've been a big fan ever since. I think she's a really wonderful actress. But, you see what happens to a lot of talent that gets stuck in these positions, and it's just like, why can't you create a new character, and then that actress wouldn't have to deal with that. Let's see here. Man of the Moon says, just hop on the trend and base it on the video game. That's right. Aren't they new characters in Hogwarts Legacy? And that's been extremely popular. Liam is talking about some of the things that J.K. did. Yeah, I do think that she was really just way too aggressive in her statements and unfair. Let's see here. Let me close the poll. Oh, thank you, Julio. Yeah, this conversation is getting a little crazy, so let me close the poll and we'll move on to the next story, okay? Let's see here. That's right, Obachina. The game, I think, is what they should be following is the North Star because nobody had any problems with it and it was extremely successful. Let's see here. Would you watch the new HBO Harry Potter show? 44% of you said yes. That's a very promising start. And you haven't even seen anything from the show. 21% of you are just not interested, whereas 17% of you would boycott it because of J.K. Rowling. That's a big chunk. That's not nothing, but I mean, I think that it's manageable for them. But I would be a little bit worried about the budget of the show because of that. And then 15% of you would prefer, you would prefer new characters. But I bet if you're in that group, you can probably move over into the watch it category. It sounds like there's interest. WM says, Hufflepuff for life. Let's see what house everybody's in. That's always a fun poll. I am a Slytherin, as you know. What house are you in? Gryffindor. I'm probably going to misspell them. Sorry. Slytherin. Ravenclaw. And Hufflepuff. Ah, look at me knowing all the names off the top of my head. I was just in the Harry Potter store recently, and I had a great time being in there. I just do like that world. By the way, again, even if you're not a member, anyone can vote in a poll, so let your house, sort yourself into those houses, my friend. All right, so any questions or comments about this? We'll just give it another second. Oh, Degaitai. I don't like butterbeer. Too sugary for me. I see some fellow Slytherins like Mike Jones. Hey, Mike. Oh, look, Richard's also a Slytherin. I love it. Lisa's a proud Ravenclaw. Well, Dory is a Gryffindor. It's funny. I do sometimes think of people I know, and I kind of try and sort them myself. I have a very good friend who I'm like, you're a total Gryffindor. Oh, this is great. Big Witch says, who is your favorite Harry Potter character, Grace? Because I'm Slytherin, I like Professor Snape. Thank you, Jennifer. I really gravitate towards the Lokis and the Slytherins of the world. It's just me. I like anti-heroes. Zay says, Grace, I took the test 4 times and I wanted Gryffindor, but I got Hufflepuff every single time. Zay. Well, you can feel good about it. You can know that that's your house. I'm sorry you didn't get the one you wanted because I really wanted Slytherin. And I know it, it's just like the actual sorting experience. You got your fingers crossed, but you're in the house you're in. Danny's also a Slytherin. I love it. All right. Okay, let me close the poll and we'll move on to the next story because the time's a moving. Let's see here. Okay, what house are you in? Oh, look, most of you are in Ravenclaw. But again, it's pretty evenly divided, which I always find interesting. So that means they did a good job creating the houses. 32% of you are Ravenclaw, 23% of you are Gryffindor, 23% are fellow Slytherins, and then there are 20% of you who are Hufflepuffs. That's so fun. If you go to the Harry Potter site, they have the sorting quiz. If you've always wanted to know what house you're in, and it's so fun because when you go to the theme parks or the store, you can buy merch for your house. Again, it's a difficult position with the J.K. Rowling stuff, but it is a good part of the IP. That was very clever the way it was put together like that. All right, let's boom baby into the third story. All right. Boom, baby. All right, so we got some Shrek clarification. So Eddie Murphy is doing press for the Axel F movie, which comes out for 4th of July on Netflix. Plays like in a handful of theaters. No one's talking about it. They had a big premiere the other day. But oddly, I don't know when the reviews are coming out. I'm planning to watch it. I don't know if I'm going to have time to review it because it's getting so close to the holiday, but I'll tweet about it if I watch it. But anyway, Eddie Murphy is doing press. And sure enough, he blabbed a little bit on Shrek, so we got kind of an update on what's going on with Shrek. Coven of Hags, oh, look, you've made your own house up. Says, I grew up with Shrek and am and Shrek 4 had a continuity error with its main villain appearing in the third as a villain. Do you think the animation will change in the new one? You are a Shrek fan. We'll see what they decide to do. I hope that it feels like very fresh. All right, so what's happening is that Eddie Murphy confirmed that he is already recording the voice work for Shrek 5. So that means they are well into production on that. So he said he's already recorded like the first act of the movie, and he believes it's coming out in 2025. And then he said they're doing a donkey spin-off movie. He's been saying that for years, though, so I'd take that with a grain of salt. I mean, the Puss in Boots movies have done very well, and the last one was incredible. So maybe a donkey movie would do well. But I think Shrek 5 is coming up fast. So that's very exciting. I think, I think it's been a very long time. It actually has been a long time. I think people are excited for the return of Shrek. And of course, it's very important to Universal as a company. They use that IP a lot. They use it in their theme parks. They can use it on their streaming services. They're building that whole all-ages theme park in Texas. Shrek is huge for them. And then, of course, the whole reason that Shrek became successful is that it was making fun of Disney. In fact, Jeffrey Katzenberg, it was his first big move when he left Disney and started DreamWorks Animation, because he was very upset that he didn't get the CEO, the gig, what's that guy who died in a helicopter accident? It was very sad. Frank something, I think. Frank Wells, I think was his name. And Jeffrey Katzenberg had expected to get that job. And it went to Mike Ovitz. And Jeffrey Katzenberg was so upset that he left the company. It's funny because it's very sad, but it's interesting because a similar thing happened at Warner Brothers when Jeff Robinov was not promoted at the company, and he left because Kevin Tsujihara got the job. And that really hurt Warner Brothers because Jeff Robinov had did such a wonderful job. A lot of what people love about Warner Brothers today is because of Jeff Robinov. He brought in Christopher Nolan, Zack Snyder. He was the one who really built all those relationships, and it was really, Baz Luhrmann. And so those were huge losses to their studios. But Jeffrey Katzenberg, his revenge was Shrek, which really made fun of the Disney fairy tale angle. And it was immensely successful. It was hugely successful. My favorite is Shrek 2. I'm curious what everybody's favorite Shrek is. I know you guys like a poll. Let's do a poll. Which is your favorite Shrek? Shrek 2, Shrek 3. Well, it's Shrek the Third. We'll do the titles. Shrek the Third, and then Shrek Forever. I think it's Shrek Forever after. There you go. I actually rewatched Shrek 2, during the pandemic. That's right, Holding Out for a Hero, Jacob Gold. One of the best sequences I've ever seen, and it holds up. It's incredible. And not my gumdrop buttons. Oh, I loved it. I had one of those little. I don't know where it went, but I had a little gingerbread cookie. I loved it. That's great. And I think my favorites are Shrek 2 and obviously the latest Puss in Boots. I thought the last Puss in Boots was as good as Shrek 2. That's how good the last Puss in Boots was. And iReady says Shrek 5 needs to embrace the pop culture like they did in the second one. Yeah, and I think that they did that a little bit with the last Puss in Boots. But there's a lot of material. It's been a long time, and there's a lot of material with what Disney's been doing. That's right, Rashad. You're a monster. It was so funny. You're a monster. Oh, I loved it. I actually was sad when that giant gingerbread cookie got messed up. I was very sad. He's like, be good. I was like, am I actually crying at Shrek 2? But anyway, it's very funny. But yeah. Oh, that's sweet, Justin, that you have such fond memories of seeing that with your dad. That's very nice. But yeah, I think there's a ton of material for them. And if they don't hold their punches, it's funny. Shrek is almost like The Boys for animated fairy tale movies. So they could have a lot of fun with that. I would actually, if I were them, we'll see who their writers are. They've already written the script, but I hope it goes as hard as it needs to. Because, we have the internet now, and people can come up with great jokes just online themselves. So it needs to be really good. Felipe says, fun fact, Eugenio Derbez voices Donkey in the Latin America dub. That's right. That's one of the things that made Eugenio Derbez a big star. And I love me some Eugenio Derbez, as many of you know. Coven of Hags, you are a big Shrek fan. Very funny stuff. Bye, Atomsphere. CM says, how would you feel about Peter Pan as the villain for Shrek 5? I would think that could be interesting. I mean, they did that in Fables with the last story arc, and I thought that was pretty good. Oh, Robert Hayes. Well, Robert Hayes wants to make fun of Frozen and Star Wars, but, they could do a lot with Frozen. That could be pretty funny. They have a lot of material. Oh, that's right, Don't Care Bear. Peter Pan was the villain in Chip and Dale. But did a lot of people even see that? I saw it and I forgot. Manny, Fables was going, and it was going strong as a comic book. But unfortunately, it's very sad. Bill Willingham got into a big fight with DC, and he said it was now in the public domain, and he's not doing it again. So it was such a sad, because it was so good. I won't ruin Fables, Man of the Moon, but it ends. Because it doesn't even end. They just stop the story. Oh, Elliot, for those of you who don't know, Fables is a wonderful adult take on fairy tales. It was a long-running comic for decades. And everybody feels it's one of... I combine them into one thing. Fables and Saga are the two comic book properties that people feel should be a show, should be series, but yet are not. They are like the holy grail of comics to adapt. I don't even know what Roy you're talking about, Blair. That's the one thing I don't remember. Oh, Manny, I've not played that video game, but I do recall that it was popular. All right, any questions or comments? Oh, Hazel, you're reading you're reading Fables right now? Fantastic. You're going to love it. By the way, also be sure to read the Jack of Fables spinoff, which was also an excellent comic. Coven says, Red Riding Hood would be a great villain, as she was in the second and third film. Oh, yeah, Goldilocks. That's right. Florence Pugh. Pew Pew. She did a great job as Goldilocks in Puss in Boots. All right, let me close the poll. It's not even close. All right, so 67% of you agree that Shrek 2 is the best of the films. 27% of you prefer the first one, and then it got rough after that, with only 2% of you picking Shrek Forever After and Shrek the Third. So that's pretty funny. No, Poke, there is a Fables Queen, the Queen of Fables on Harley Quinn, but that is not the comic book. Classic Bunny Librarian. There's a bunny reading a book. I love it. Says, do you think they should bring back Madagascar as well when it went, because it was a box office hit? I don't know about Madagascar. I wouldn't bring back Madagascar. I think it ran its course, and I think it skews young. I think that Shrek has a very broad appeal. I mean, it has a lot of adult humor in it. Dad Boy says, I hope that the jokes in Shrek 5 don't become too toxic towards Disney and validate the toxic groups on the internet. Well, hopefully they strike just the right balance. Nick Warner says, Grace, is there any truth to the rumored shortlist for Booster Gold? I haven't heard anything about it, but if Patrick Schwarzenegger's on it, I think that's pretty awesome. He would be a good, I don't know how funny he is, but I think he'd be not a bad choice for that. Thanks, Jack252. That's very kind of you to say, and I'm always honored when anybody suggests that. That's right, Danny. Where's Zootopia 2? It's coming fast. I told you it tested very well. I'm so excited. I love Zootopia. I recently rewatched that as well, too, and it also holds up excellent. That's right, Lisa. Madagascar has Chris Rock and Jada Pinkett Smith as the voices, and that would be a little tough. Tenerife says, what's better, Fables or Saga? I can't pick. They're both tremendous. You don't get better than that. If you're looking for comics to read, they're both ongoing, to be honest with you. Saga is on another break right now, but it just doesn't get better than those two. But I also have to warn you, they're both extremely adult. They are both definitely rated R, if not NC-17. So keep that in mind when you are reading them. Hey Juan, thanks for gifting a membership. Bye, Cat Shack. All right, I think we're ready for the Q&A because, it's 5 o'clock. I got to get going. Okay, we'll do a 5-minute Q&A. Sorry, I have to cut it a little bit short. And I didn't get to do shout-outs. We'll do the shout-outs. The next live stream will be on Friday. All right, so 5 minutes till 5:05, and then I have to go. Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm just checking the stats. It's doing well. Yay, makes me happy. Okay. Wanda's attorney, my new best pal, says, any chances we get Wanda news at San Diego Comic-Con or D23? I don't think you're going to get Wanda news until after the Agatha show. So I think that the only thing that you'll get that's Wanda-ish is Agatha stuff. Buck's Basement says, Grace, are you covering One Piece Season 2 casting? I am not familiar with One Piece, so it's hard for me to cover it. I might review the show. I got to see when it comes out, but I'm just not familiar with it, so it's hard. What's that question? Big Witch, I am planning to review Maxine. I can't make tonight's press screening because, again, I have this personal thing. Every screening in the world is tonight. I can't believe it. But I am going on Monday. There's a screening on Monday. Hey, CJ. Always so nice to see you, fellow New Yorker. Let's see here. Coven of Hags says, Goldilocks and Red Riding Hood appeared in a Shrek racing game in 2008, way before the Goldilocks made an appearance in Puss in Boots 2. Oh, that's interesting to know. You should write to the team over at DreamWorks. They should give you a ticket to this premiere. You really know your stuff. Let's see here. Mac Ward says, hey, Grace, I love your stuff. Do you choose when ads are played in your videos? They always pop up right before you spill some tea. That's funny. Well, Mac, I do choose where the ads go on the pre-recorded ones. I try to make sure that they work with the experience. But with the lives, I just do them at certain marks. But it's funny if that's how they come out. Let's see here. Richard says, do you think X-Men will end up in their own separate universe? Wouldn't that be wonderful if they did? From your lips to Kevin Feige's ears, Richard. That would make me very happy. Bye, Lisa. Thank you again for your generosity. Let's see here. Nofix says, Grace, how do you think the new June streaming content is performing overall? It feels like The Boys, House of the Dragon, and The Acolyte have all stumbled. They have. I think it was a huge mistake to release them all the same month, and I hope they don't do this again. It's been a nightmare to cover them. It's been difficult in terms of the coverage. I think it was a mistake. Apricot Warrior, what a name, says, hey, Grace, I'm back. I graduated with my first degree, and I'm working on representation for writing. Oh, that's so exciting. Which studio right now could take on original ideas and be successful? My money is on Universal. Well, I told you Warner Brothers is doing a nice job. I think Warner Brothers, Universal, Disney has already enough on their plate. But also the smaller studios. Lionsgate's looking for stuff. I think that's probably your best bet. SMR Goose, you got into Slytherin. I love it. DeMarcus says, most anticipated movie for the next half of the year. Oh, that's easy. Deadpool and Wolverine. Oh, and Joker too. But I made my top 10 lists for the year so far, and I'll probably be doing them hopefully right after 4th of July. That's right, Bear Like Fire. The actress who plays Firecracker is LGBT in real life, and she had some really interesting comments on that portrayal. Bye, Danny. Jacob says, Grace, you mentioned at the start of the stream that editing takes you a long time. Have you tried using CapCut? A lot of creators use it. It has a lot of AI features that make editing faster. Ooh, I don't think I could withstand using anything that had AI in it. Not only do I personally think it's wrong, but people seem to like to give me grief. And so I don't want anything to do with AI for every possible reason. But thank you for letting me know. And yet another reason that some people are faster in their edits than me. Quasar says, renewed my membership after a break. Thanks. I'm glad you came back. Want to say you have my support with the Acolyte coverage. You don't just, thank you. That's been rough. That's been brutal. But I held my ground. Here's the thing. I can hold my ground because I'm always just being honest. I'm just telling you what I feel. You can always trust me to be really honest with you. Steven, I did see the trailer for the new Halle Berry and Mark Wahlberg action movie, and it looked like every other movie that Netflix has ever made. CJ, I'm glad you think the movie math ads are placed correctly. I work so hard on making sure they're placed well, so I'm really glad that makes a difference. Let's see here. Jules, I hope you enjoy my Acolyte breakdown. Tiff says, what would it take for you to try a video, for you to try a video game, Grace? First comment in a while, missed you. Welcome back, Tiff. Always so great to see you. I'll be covering The Last of Us Season 2. I'm going to watch those cutscenes closer to when the show is coming out. But yeah, I think that's like the closest I get to kind of video game coverage. And when they make another Injustice, I'll cover that, because it's in my space. It's in my wheelhouse when they do the Wolverine games and the Blade games and stuff like that. Hopefully it's a better experience than when I covered the Suicide Squad game, which was another nightmare of toxicity, but whatever. CM, the next stream will be on Friday because I got to go see A Quiet Place tomorrow. Robert Hayes, I thought the Nosferatu trailer looked pretty good. I'll see it because I liked The Northman and it was very atmospheric. But I thought it was pretty funny that they said at the end of the trailer, they were like, for Christmas. And you're like, what, for Christmas? That's crazy. Who's going to watch that at Christmas? Let's see here. War and Peace, thank you very much. Let's see here. Lord Baratheon says, how do you think A Quiet Place will do day one will do at the box office? It's predicted that it will not be able to unseat Inside Out 2, and that's, I think, a little bit embarrassing. And Daniel, I didn't watch that Tom Hanks and Robin Wright trailer because I thought it sounded depressing. I didn't want to watch someone's whole life go by in just like the living room. I was like, that seems really sad, and I don't want to deal with it. All right, just really quick here. Leanne says, watching while waiting for my tram home. Thanks, Leanne. Welcome to the group. I'm sure you might have commented before. I can see you've got a silver badge there for 6 months, but I'm really loving your comments today. It says, just joined a new wellness plan that has improved my mental health. Good for you. My boyfriend and sister have a hard time understanding my journey, but I am so happy. That's the most important thing, Leanne. Good for you. Let's see here. Bjorn says, hey, Grace, what are your favorite comic book stores in New York City? I collect Dark Horse Star Wars comics. That's awesome. I got to tell you, I only go digital now. I told you that horrible experience where there was a comic book with a footprint on it, and I was like, I'm done. Let's see here. Allegedly, I did see part of the Heretic trailer. I didn't have time to watch it all the way through. That's how busy I am right now. But I was like, that Hugh Grant. I'm loving this, like, Hugh Grant doesn't give an F era. All right, I do have to go. I loved talking to you. Lots of videos tomorrow. There will be the Boys Breakdown and A Quiet Place review in the evening. And then on Friday, we will have the other live stream. We will do the 3 this week. All right, everybody, I love you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.